Happy International Women's Day. This is exciting for 2024. I cannot wait to hang out with these two lovely ladies today because they are two people who inspire me on the daily. They motivate me and they make me want to be a better human. So I feel like that is a classic thing for International Women's Day is we want to be with those who inspire us. So I feel very privileged today that I get to do this with these two in particular. I want to introduce you to Jill Olish. She is the founder of Mama Outspoken, and she is changing the way others view what happens when a mama has a new baby and all the things that go with that. She's advocating and she's an ambassador for mamas to learn that they have a voice also. Welcome, Jillo. And Yvonne Marchese is the founder and president, let me just say that, president of the Age Agitators Club. And she's on a mission to help people understand how they can change how they look at aging and what they're doing with that information. And I'm going to tell you, Yvonne, I am a card-carrying member of the Age Agitators Club, but I am going to say I have so much to learn from you. So I'm very excited you said yes to this interview today. And I am Kim White. I am the founder and fierce leader of the My Sexy Business team and community and great lover of these two ladies. So welcome to International Women's Day, y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I've got some questions for you ladies, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
I can't wait to hear the questions.
So you two know already that I am obsessed with collaboration. That's part of my love language because I think together is better no matter what you're talking about. And for me in particular, I think business is better together. But I want to open this conversation with, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. It doesn't have to be business. It is about being together as women. I would love to hear what International Women's Day means to each of you and why.
You want to go first?
Do you want to go first? Okay, I'll go first. I have to say that it has become more important to me as I've aged, as has my relationship with other women in my life. And it's so important to see yourself represented. And this holiday calls to attention women's contributions. I read a staggering statistic recently that said that in the annals of history, 0.5% is women's history, what's been recorded. And I found that to be kind of made me a little hot under the collar, because that we're 50% of the population. We've been contributing incredible things to society, and so much of it has gone unnoticed, unseen, unheralded. And to have women be recognized and at the table in positions of power and all that is incredibly important, from writers' rooms in Hollywood to politics to all the things, to boardrooms. And that's becoming more and more. I'm becoming more and more of what I guess you would call a feminist. But I'm a soft feminist. I like guys.
And you're awful salty. I will say that Like that's, and I love
I came
that
in hot. I came in spicy and hot, Kim.
I love it. So, Jill, same question. What does International Women's Day mean to you and why?
All right. So the first thing that bubbles up for me is this phrase of mothering the mother. And I don't think that, let me say this in a different way, actually. I think that the best people to help women out are other women. And I think at times, because we understand what in community, what is going on, the best people to fill our village seems to be women because they know how to mother. It's a natural instinct. And it's whether or not you have children, you're still mothering other women in community. You're impacting people by coming together as a group of women. I think we can have this reach that's so beyond us individually when we recognize what we can do in a group. And when we say out loud that it's International Women's Day, I think it gives us that little bit of drive to, okay, yes, let's go ahead and do something together. What is that common goal now that we're going to do? And Yvonne brings up that other side of it in the feminist way, like how we lift each other up there. And I think we can lift each other up in all parts of our lives as we come together, because how different are we really when it comes to us as women? I don't know. So for me, it's me seeing who's in my village as I continue to grow it after having a child. Yes, men are important in my life. Of course, they're important in life around us, but really who's giving me that nurturing, caring relationship? It's other women. So why aren't I including them as much as possible in what I do in all my roles? Because yes, it's fantastic to have my mom, my aunts, my mother-in-law, the women in my church all be a part of my village. But how can I expand that to anyone that I come into relationship with or contact with, and pass on that little bit of impact as being a woman and having a voice that I can be outspoken with for other women?
I love that, Jill. And I am going to make this a little spicy as well, because both of you brought to the table something that's very important to me personally. I feel like International Women's Day is just a space. Like somebody declared it at some point. That's how it came about. But I feel like it's a space to reflect a little bit on how we are supporting other people, as Jill was talking about, and how we are honoring those that have supported us in the past, as Yvonne was talking about. And for me, this is about intentionally leaving something behind to make the world a better place. And as women, I do think we have an advantage. I think men have a different kind of an advantage. I think we have a different kind of advantage of doing what you're talking about, the nurturing and loving on each other and demonstrating that. I am very anti gossip and anti tearing each other down. That's the quickest way to get out of my world, is to do that to each other. And I feel like you two demonstrate in such huge ways what it looks like to love on other women and be good to each other. So the legacy that we're creating to leave, because legacy takes us being not here anymore. So our legacy is that we're building this to leave behind us. And I think history-wise, about the women who fought for the vote, none of those women in that first group of women, they never got to vote. But guess what? After they did what they did, it was passed down and is still being passed down. That's the kind of impact I want to make on this world. I want to make an impact that's lasting and it lives on beyond me. So I would love to know from both of you, what are you wanting to leave behind to change this world? What is your intention for leaving behind when you're gone?
Well, let's see. I can answer this.
You look like you had something to say, so I was like, "Ooh, what is it? What is it, Jill?"
See, my story comes around the troubles of going through postpartum depression and anxiety. So I never want to have someone unheard or feeling alone when it comes to the transition into motherhood. And that, I don't know what the impact will be yet, but it really is, I don't want someone to be alone during that, to feel like they have no one to turn to or can't speak up about what is going on within them. And to feel like they can't do it alone, because with help will be okay. That's the Postpartum Resource Center. It's actually the Postpartum International's motto for women. It's with help, you will be okay. And I think that could be extended into any aspect of our lives then, and making that message loud and clear for every woman, for every man, for every person, that you will be okay with help. Like, how impactful can that be in the end? And I think that's a lot of people's mission in that aspect of the world of postpartum and women, everybody making an impact there, is knowing that right now, especially after all the things that we've come into with mental health awareness over the last few years. And that's the kind of impact I want to have, is just for everyone to know that they're not alone when they're going through something. Because even through entrepreneurship, we're not alone going through the hard stuff there. So that's, I think, where my impact is trying to head towards.
Thank you, Jill. Yvonne, same question.
I'd love to address what Jill, the work Jill's doing first, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Because it's so, if you can impact one woman, that is going to impact generations. It's amazing.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Yeah. Getting all gushy. Legacy, impact. So I guess I have to speak to from my journey, which was tied pretty closely to my to my motherhood journey as well. I didn't have kids until I was 35. I was a late bloomer as a mother. And it was a seismic shift in my world, in good ways. And, I don't know, maybe I had postpartum. That could have been happening to a small degree. But what I didn't know was happening at that same time was I started looking in the mirror in my early 40s and was like, whoa, who's that? Where did that body come from? And who is she? Oh my gosh, I'm so old. I just didn't recognize myself when I looked in the mirror. And because I had shifted away from my original dream of being an actress, that was everything I ever wanted, was to have a career in the theater and as an actress. When I had kids, I lost that drive. I didn't want that anymore, but I didn't have something to replace it with for many years. And so for at least 5 years, I floundered with, who am I? What am I? What am I doing here? And thank goodness I found the love of photography saved me, I will say. But even then, as I was approaching my 50s, I really was struggling with lack of focus, loneliness, kind of a sense of being a failure. N- And feeling like it was too late to do anything about it. So, excuse me, sorry. Um, so what I did do is I started down the self-help route, and I set up a morning routine for myself, which was a form of self-care. It meant getting up an hour earlier every day so I could beat my family to the punch because there was no self-care that was going to happen with small kids and the day rolling into getting the kids off to school and all that. So I had to rearrange a lot of things to make that happen. But when I did, I started feeling so much better almost immediately within a couple of weeks. And when I started to feel better, physically and mentally, I started to feel better than I'd felt in so long. And I was like, wow, I feel healthier than I've felt in years. And I realized, oh, if I could stay healthy, what might my next 30 years look like? I'm likely to live to 80. What am I going to do with that time? And wait a minute, I've been telling myself it's all downhill from here and it's all over. And that's when the light bulb went off for me. So that's a long story to tell you that the legacy that I want to leave behind is to make people aware of that kind of side swipe that hits you as you get older. And it's this built-in ageist society that we live in that tells us that it's all downhill, that it's all over, that you don't have anything left to contribute as you get older, and that it's all bad news, when the reality of it is that there's this natural U curve of happiness that happens in midlife, and people tend to come out of that and start to get happier as they get older. But I still think that there's built-in conversations in everybody's heads that tell them, well, when you're retired, you're just retired. You're a used to be, you're a has been, where it doesn't mean that retirement itself is bad. It's the attitude that goes with the retirement that says you're done and you have nothing left to do. When you could be the massive support for your family in some way, taking care of grandkids, contributing to your community, all kinds of things. So, yeah, just looking to help people rethink what it means to age.
Well, I have to call both of you out for a second because neither one of you have the mission of something tiny. Helping all mamas not go through things alone is an enormous mission. Helping everyone who is getting older not feel like it's too late and they need to give up is a huge mission. And I think just honoring that on this day is important to me because I think that's part of why you two are actually meant to come together today. Like, this has been cooking. I'm going to say that. This has been cooking for a year. And I want to give a quick explanation. We actually were all three scheduled for something else and it had to be rescheduled. And I knew when I woke up this morning, this needed to happen at whatever we had to do to make it happen. And I feel like part of that is because everyone who's watching is watching history be made. Everything you're seeing right now is going to be history at some point. And I feel like the significance of you, Yvonne, and you, Jill, coming together, you actually both talk about a way of life and living in a way that is beneficial. You both talk about self-care. You both talk about a lot of the same things, You're in different age brackets, and yet your messages are aligned. So I have to say out loud that I am calling this out loud, that what is going on in the greatness in you, Yvonne, is going on with you, Jill. That greatness is playing well together. And I need everyone to know that you all are witnessing history being made with these two coming together, because I feel a collaboration brewing with the two of you. I'm just going to say it out loud, and I'm okay with it. Like, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I am saying I feel it. So I would like for you, Yvonne, to talk about your workshop that's coming up like in just a few days. I would love for you to talk about it and why it means something to you, because you just were talking about legacy. And I don't believe we waste our time on doing things when we're legacy minded and we're intentional. These things are really important. So tell me about your workshop. And I love the play on words, because Yvonne, you've got to explain that too. It's not actually a workshop, y'all.
Yes, it is not a workshop, because it's about living playfully at any age. And so the title of the workshop is Unlocking Playfulness, Cultivating Joy at Any Age, and it's not a workshop. It's a play shop.
Love that.
So let's just put a cross through the word workshop. Replace it with play shop. So yeah, I am currently obsessed with I'm just going to say obsessed with the inquiry into what it means to live playfully. And to me right now, that's an inquiry into how to live life with a sense of experimentation and a mindset of playfulness that includes literal play, making time in your calendar to include play, taking moments in your day when you've been grinding away at all the things you got to do, and recognizing when that starts to feel heavy and stepping away from it to have a dance break or to take a moment for yourself to just breathe. It doesn't have to be play in the sense of like, woo, yeah, it's not about putting on a happy face. It's none of that. It is a mindset towards giving ourselves permission to play, because as adults, we have been trained, I believe, to work hard all the time and be productive all the time. And there's very little being going on in the human being part of what we're doing. We're a lot of human doings. And yeah, things still need to get done. So how, and this is a question I'm asking for myself too, how, especially for myself, because I struggle with being a heartaholic and grinding. So the question is how can I play more, and how can I get done all the things I want to get done and need to get done with a mindset of experimentation, ease, and playfulness. And that's what the workshop is going to be about.
So you have used a phrase, and I'm just going to call you out on something really quickly. You have used a phrase that I love, and it's inspired action. We can be inspired and do nothing. Like, I feel like we can be so inspired and we can get all excited and then nothing happens. And I feel like we can take action and it be just stuff we're doing. But when you marry those two words and you're talking inspired action, would you talk a little bit about that? Because you have definitely inspired me to make a place for some of the self-care that you talk about. And by the way, I want to just interject quickly to remind everyone that Jill is a one of the hosts of the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast, which makes me giggle because here's another part that you two are so connected. I'm going to say that. But will you describe what inspired action maybe looks like, feels like?
I think we all know what inspired action actually feels like. But how often do we allow ourselves to notice it? When you feel inspired action, it's like that thing of being in the zone for athletes. It's getting lost in a task because you're so interested in it. It's, so you can put things like yesterday, I had a very up and down kind of a day. Let me just say, I started off the day in total stress mode and I had a full on pity party. And I actually let myself go there. I was punching pillows, Kim. Seriously. And because I felt like everything, all the efforting that I've been doing, I felt like where's it going? Where's the evidence? Where I don't see any success, where I don't see any success here. What's going on? So that's how the day started. And what ended up happening is I had a lot of things on my calendar that I was going to check off, tick, 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 these things that should get done. And when I was done with my pity party and I sat down and I wrote down some things that were bothering me so I could get it out on paper, I took a couple of moments then to do a gratefulness meditation, 5 minutes. And from there, I started to get super productive, more productive than I was all last week. Now, mind you, the things that were on my calendar to get done that day did not get done. But I did a bunch of other things that are needle moving things, I will say. And it was inspired action. I enjoyed doing it. I was, I created a new YouTube banner on my YouTube page. I updated thumbnails on all of these old things. I made it look pretty. I made it look like a place where if I were to go and land on that YouTube channel, I'd be like, "Ooh, I want to stay here and see what's here." And so as I was doing it, it felt good. And I set up some things for Salty Sisters with me and Kat because I would love to see Salty Sisters like up level. And so started to work on some things there and really did some needle moving work there, reaching out to guests, scheduling things, and it all felt right. It was a gut check, let's just say. Does that answer the question?
I think that's a great example, Yvonne, a great example. And I want to call out really quickly because your salty sister, our sweet, freaking fabulous Kat Corchado, couldn't be with us today, but we don't want to not mention her today on this day that if she should have been right here with us, like talking about all of these things. So, Kat, we're coming for you. Exactly. We're coming for you, Kat. We're going to get you on something different, I guess, but we're going to do something. But I would love to hear, Jill, like after hearing Yvonne describe these things, I would love to hear what you're hearing about the inspired action, because as the host, like of the quarterly vision board party, as the host of Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast, you've got all of these positions where you're talking about living, like you're talking about those things. What do you hear when Yvonne, who this is not ageist, it's just factual, is a little older than you are, and I'm older than both of you, so but what do you hear when you hear living playfully?
Well, inspired action, I realized, is what happened for me this week in preparation for the event we were originally inspired to be at today. Last night I had to get my booty in shape and get some things going in order to be present there. I was like, okay, let's just do it now instead of waiting for a later date. So I was definitely inspired to do something. So I'm glad you explained that. right now, because now it's like given me this, a lot of the things I do are inspired action, because there's this need for almost joy to be filling my cup up. So like you were saying before, we're human beings, and are we being or are we doing? Because we're not human doing, but a lot of the things that we do are doing instead of living. So one of the things that bubbled up as you were talking about figuring out how to live playfully and all these things, I'm like, oh, why doesn't everyone just have a toddler with them? Because that's one way I do it. Like, I stop working, I go hang out with my toddler, and that's all we do is play. Like, I am an adult playing like 3/4 of my day, it feels like. But who really wants to go back to those toddler days when you have grown kids? You don't want more of your own. You'll take someone else's to watch for a few hours, right?
Mine turned 34 yesterday. I still have those moments in my mind of catching frogs, chasing bugs, like all the things.
And then before we got on here, I was telling Yvonne how I look forward to the day that I get to join the Age Agitators Club, because I don't feel old enough to be in there. But she was definitely reassuring me that at any age can be prepared for that side swipe we were talking about, of figuring out that, we're aging. But I know now, like, I can start putting into my evidence file different things. Like you were saying, also, Yvonne, like, what is that evidence that we're looking for that things are being productive? But what is the evidence that we're being playful still, as we're gearing towards those older days, if I can put it gently, for myself? But if I'm keeping in my mind that how can I keep this playfulness as my child and I both grow? Now, knowing what I know through knowing you and the things that you teach others to be more mindful of, to be playful in their aging, like, okay, so what tools do I have that I can keep adding to my toolbox to make sure that I don't have that roadblock of this is the end when I get to a certain point? Because I see my parents now, who are avid travelers, just camping all throughout the US, it feels like, as they've retired, and taking my son with them everywhere they go because it's joyful to them. So it's like, I see them as an example of things that fill them, and I try to definitely push him off on them, but I try to also copy that, because why aren't I taking that opportunity to be filled with joy by being with my son, by being playful in my relationships, and in being playful on our podcast that we have talking about self-care, like bringing just joy, not just to me, but in my presence as well. So I think that's a lot to do with aging playfully, is just having that joy that's expressed in the things that you do. Because I'd say that we've been doing the podcast for almost a year, and that is my biggest growth, is understanding that filling my cup really is about being joyful. And it doesn't always have to mean I'm happy all the time and on, but that I'm filled with just this peace and joy that I accomplished, not something, but I've accomplished filling my cup.
I love that. You know, when you were talking about how you play every day, you know, with your kiddo, you've got a toddler. I remember those days. I remember playing with my kids. And I will say that there were moments when I had to literally remind myself not to wish the time away, because it would hit me so presently that, this is going to go by fast, and it does. And so there's the moments where you're playing and it's everything you imagined it would be to have kids, and you know, it's all the hearts and roses and the things that come with those gushy little human beings that are unpredictable and crazy and, you know, squishy. And then there's the other moments of drudgery of having to do things that go with being a parent, and having to clean nonstop, and having to, you know, and how to be playful even in the midst of all the things, you know, and not to wish it away. I have to remind myself more not to wish it away now, I think, when I'm doing, to hold that same idea about everything, not just my kids.
I'm almost giggling over the fact that we wish our time away no matter what season we're in. It seems as though we are always looking over there, or we're always looking back there instead of being where we are. And being 57 to me means I'm still here. Like, I am still here and I am determined. And I think every year that passes, I'm even more determined. I'm more determined to be impactful and influential, be the kind of leader that like other leaders pass because you left them something. And I think that to me is what you two are talking about. Like, you have almost the same story to tell in different versions. And I love that you're both talking about living and joy. I want to know from each of you, what does bring you joy? What is the thing that when you get up in the morning and you know that's something you're going to get to do, what brings you that joy that just overflows from you?
I guess I'll go first, Jill. What brings me joy shifts from day to day, I will say. That morning routine that I do is solid state. The more I meditate, the more I want to meditate. I'm kind of like, maybe I should just go off and join an ashram somewhere and just do that. That would be awesome. I really do love the peacefulness that comes from it. Some days, I'll say some days, not every day. Not every day is a peaceful meditation. But sometimes it's, I'll be there making coffee in the morning, and we have eastern facing windows in our kitchen, and the sunlight will come shining in through the water being poured into the coffee maker. It's the most mundane of moments possible, right? But it is beautiful. There's sparkle and sunlight and, the warmth of the sun shining in on me. Sometimes I'll just stand in my kitchen windows in the morning and just let the sun shine on my face and close my eyes and soak it in. It's really about noticing little things, I think. If I'm getting a hug from my kid, just letting myself really be there for the hug. Same thing with my husband, really be there for the hug, because sometimes it's like, oh, I love you. Okay, I gotta go do this other thing, right? I think it really is about noticing the joy that's available to you at any moment.
So I'm going to hop in really quick and just put this little interjection in there about Yvonne so that you, our sweet viewer, knows about like something that Yvonne does. The photography because Yvonne is a photographer, she did branding photos for us while we were in New York. And what an incredible experience it is to be with you, Yvonne. I feel like you bring joy with your camera. Like, I think I just want to speak to that really quickly, that you do bring joy with you, and you bring it out of, I think it's contagious. You bring it out of everyone you're taking pictures of.
Yeah, it is a moment that I was talking earlier about being in the zone. That happens to me when I'm doing photography, when I'm taking pictures of people, or even with my little phone camera, like and I'm at the beach and I see something special, or a flower on a walk or anything like that. And that I do get lost in it. I get lost in time.
I love it. Well, I'm going to head back over to Jill. Jill, I want to know what brings you joy.
Well, Yvonne, I think you nailed it on the head for me with being, one, intentional in the moments that we have, like you were saying with a hug, being intentionally present in that hug is definitely something that brings joy versus just quickly doing it. And then the other part of it is, crap, now I thought I lost it. The intention. And oh well, we'll get back to it. It's the contagious part, I think, is the other part. It's like my son is joyful all the time. So it's when we're in those moments, I have to take his, and like he is just contagious. And it's definitely a shift of awareness. That's the other part. Being aware of what something can do for you. Because I'm going to bring up self-care. There's self-care things that we can do that don't bring us joy, but they get us that rest and relaxation that we need. But after a day where I'm looking back at how my day was, even if it was frustrating, if I had just a moment either with my husband after dinner, sitting on the couch, and that peace, that proximity of being in each other's presence brings, or after I've cleaned the kitchen and it just looks so good, that like sometimes just bring me the joy that I need for that moment. But I look back for my day and I'm like, okay, so today wasn't really that bad, and I can go to bed resting easy because I actually feel fulfilled after this day of living a day in my life. Like that brings me joy. Like I've done all the things that I could have done, and I survived today. My family survived today, and we get to do it all over again with a smile on our faces when we wake up, and we'll be good. We'll still be here, hopefully. So seeing that joy, especially on my husband and my son's faces whenever we do things together, fills me with so much joy. And I think even being in community with others, and really it's because of the contagiousness of joyfulness. Like, how do you walk away from a gathering that has this vibe of everyone just being loving on each other and not feel the joy in there? Because I know it's so funny. My husband says this to me frequently, that I might be acting one way with him before I go into, say, a mastermind meeting or just any other kind of thing that has people that are different than my family in it. And I walk away in a happier mood. And it's because the vibe that was brought to me in that setting has just allowed me to just take what was happening outside of that moment and let it at the door, be present with other people who are probably going through stuff too on the other side of that door as well, and us all just being in this moment together. And I get to walk away just feeling a little bit better, happier, lighter. And that brings me joy to know that I have a space like that to do that, that I'm in community with others who are probably in that same kind of space as well. And just knowing that I'm not alone and feeling like that.
Huge.
My goodness. Both of you melt my heart, I just have to say, because both of you are so influential and have no idea how much so. Like, I think that that's the part that I look at you both and recognize you all don't understand how much influence you have on other people by sharing what you're sharing. So I am hoping that when this video goes out today, I'm hoping anyone who's listening is going to comment and cheer you two on. If you don't already know Yvonne and Jill, please connect with them, because it's a big deal to have that kind of, I'm just going to call it support. You know, knowing that you're not alone, knowing that there's someone in the world that is saying we can live our lives differently as we get older, and saying to all the mamas, I wish I would have had a Jill in my life when I was young and didn't have a clue how to handle, like, after I had babies. So there are so many things that I feel like are takeaways from this conversation. But I'd like to give each of you an opportunity to what is on your heart? Like, what do you want to say today? Not because I asked a question, but what's bubbling up in you that you want to say out loud to the world today? Jillo, you go first. I'm gonna have you go first this time. What is on your heart, and what are you bringing your heart into this recording?
Oh, it's what am I bringing into this day? That's where this all lays. I have found that I've struggled the past 4 years in trying to heal after my postpartum. And I have finally come to a point that I have the most healing that I've experienced in the last 3 months, just this last quarter. And it's been because of the doing, because I haven't had the support that I needed that could have given me the information I was looking for all along. So I did have to do a little bit of my own, but I have the support from other people saying, you need to get help. How can we support you in doing that, even if you don't know where that comes from? So there's been other systems in play behind that. So like when it comes to our sticky note time planner, that is helping me make moves to get healthier in a certain way. I have been pushed to, in a good way, pushed to do other things that are moving the needle in business. I have been pushed in other ways to be aware of myself and my self-care to make sure I am able to be 100% for my family. So there's these other things that I'm not recognizing as support that is support. And I think that goes along with what we were talking in the beginning of what International Women's Day means to us, is that we're not alone. And that's where those things are. It's sometimes behind us, holding us up, because it's not someone next to us holding our hands, because we're so almost tunnel visioned on, well, I need help. It needs to be that specific help. And we're not realizing that the help is all around us. It's people praying for us behind closed doors that we don't know are doing that. People who are setting up connections for us by introducing us on different shows, or making connections with other people for us in networking. It's for people who are lifting us up by saying something good about us to someone else, or just offering solutions to even other people who might be asking the questions that we're not saying out loud, that we hear and recognize that maybe they actually see that in us, and that's why they're offering it and not saying anything, because that's what leaders do, is they read between the lines. So I think that's where, especially as women, we can come together and be experts at reading between the lines and offering that support behind the scenes without even someone recognizing it. And yeah, that's what's bubbling up for me to share.
Very good, Jill. It's bubbling up for you today, Yvonne.
Well, so much of what Jill just said is inspired me and brought things home for me. I find it interesting that our original conversation that we had scheduled for today was about collaboration. And here we are collaborating. And what Jill was talking about was this idea of and what I was hearing from you, Jill, that I thought was really interesting, was that you were looking for support, and the support was there, but maybe not in the way that you were hoping for or expecting, right? And so I think it's so great to stay open to being surprised by the support of other people, and how in the shape or the way or the form that it comes to us. And that leads me to thinking about, when I think about allowing ourselves to be surprised. In one of the pages of my book, I say, when was the last time you surprised yourself? And that, and the next question that brings up for me is, have you played today? So, if you can continue to surprise yourself, to borrow Donna Bender's phrase, surprise and delight others. Who have you surprised? Who will you surprise? Who will you inspire today? I think is what she puts on her thing. But she talks about surprise and delight. Like, surprise and delight somebody else. Surprise and delight yourself. That's what's bubbling up.
I love it. Well, I want to make sure that everybody knows that Yvonne has a book out in this world. It's available on Amazon. Yvonne, will you share the title of it to make sure I don't get it wrong?
Yes, it's In Full Bloom, A Guide to Aging Playfully.
And it is amazing. She is adorable on the cover. It's got one of my most favorite covers of any book ever. So if you haven't seen it, go look it up.
Amazon. It's super silly.
It's super fun. And I also want to give a quick invite to anyone who wants to attend one of Yvonne's play shops. Not this Saturday, the next one. So March the 16th, is that right?
March the 16th, 11 Eastern time. It's going to go for 2 hours. And it'll be on Zoom, so you can join from wherever. And it's going to be fun.
So tell us the name of it again, and then I want to make sure that I give the website so they can get there.
Thank you. It is called oh, sorry. I just changed the name. So Unlocking Playfulness, Cultivating Joy at Any Age.
Which I must say I find ironic for today's conversation, y'all. I just want to say that. It is Unlocking Joy. So if you want more joy in your life and you want to learn how to rethink and reimagine aging, I think this would be a great place to start. So I will be there, Yvonne. I'm going to tell you that. I have already signed up and I will be attending. So come and join us for that. That is going to be great. And I also would like to put out into the world, because there is someone amongst us sandwiched between Yvonne and I who is actually finishing the end part of their book coming out into the world. And I am telling you, I have had the privilege of already reading it. You will not be the same after you hear all that Jill shares. And Jill, I am just going to say out loud, it is not only just an amazing book, but it is an amazing life-changing thing that we can make a shift to support all those mamas around us. Because I am a mama. I am a mama, but I don't have littles. And I look around me and I think every mama I know that is about to have their baby or it's coming up, I want this for them. I want them not to have that alone feeling. I want them not. So you are doing amazing things in the world. And I would like to put out into the world that there is a book launch party that is scheduled for May 13th.
Yep.
May 13th. If you would like to attend the book launch party for Jill's book, please reach out to us and we'll get you the link. It's also going to be on Zoom and we'll be hosting that. But I hope that you all enjoyed this interview today and this conversation, because I will tell you out loud, these two women are not only important to me on this day, they're important to me every day. This has been a great interview, and thank you all for saying yes. I'm going to say that. Thank you. And for you, sweet listener out there, happy International Women's Day. And I hope you love on yourself today. And I hope this helps you know that we're here. We're here and we're supporting in all kinds of ways, just like Jill said, whether you recognize it or not. So, love y'all.
Thank you so much, Kim. This was a great conversation. Jill, thank you so much. I am always inspired by what I see you doing with littles in your life. And I think about what I was barely able to get through the days, and I see what you're doing, and I just am so amazed by you.
Thank you. And I have to say, I have two amazing leaders on either side of me, guiding ways for me to not just better myself, but help better everyone we get in touch with.
Love y'all.
Thank you.
Love y'all. I know. Have a happy International Women's Day. Love y'all.